because circumcision is going to be the abortion debate of the 21st century. And then he hung up on me. And I was like, man, I really wish you'd said that on camera.
So you had great access to some of the apparently most important figures in this. How difficult? How did you sell it to people on the different sides, and how difficult was it to get those people to speak on camera?
Easy, actually, and with some. It sort of depended. The ones that we got, first of all, I was working on this a long time, so I had time to sort of track each of them down. And with a lot of them, they wanted to talk on this topic. Like on both sides, they wanted to make their perspective heard. And even, like one of the major pro-circumcision voices, Brian Morris, like when I interviewed him, he wanted to sort of verbally debate the intactivists, essentially. And I also, I deliberately didn't put a lot online early on in the process, because I didn't want someone to see an early version of the film and then judge it by that. So, early on in the process, I had, there was a urologist and Moyle, a Jewish ritual circumciser who I called, and I said, I'm doing a documentary, can I interview you? And he said, well, you're not gonna interview those intactivists, are you? Because if you're interviewing them, I don't want to be in it, and I want final edit over everything I'm in. And I was like, I'm not going to give you executive producer privileges just to appear in the movie. But that made me a little worried initially. This was very early in the process. And so I thought, well, I want to be honest with people. I want to tell them that I'm interviewing both sides and doing this thing. But I also want people to appear in the movie. So I was worried that would be a common thing. And so I got a book on documentary filmmaking, and it had an ethics section in it. And I thought, I'm going to read what that says and just follow that. And so I opened it up, and it says, you should give your interview subjects informed consent, and then it gave the medical definition of informed consent. Which, for those of you who are familiar with this issue, that's completely useless, because the informed consent for circumcision is, would you like your child circumcised? And they don't give any of this information at all. So I was like, okay. And I just I would go to people, and I would use that. I said, I'm doing a documentary, would you like to be in it? And if they asked any questions, I'm completely upfront. There's one of the major pro-circumcision people we interviewed who I gave him my full personal story, and he knew, he was upfront with that. But most of them, they either knew how controversial it was and they wanted to put themselves out there on that, or they didn't. There was one Moyle I called many different Jewish ritual circumcisers, and none of them would appear on the film. And one of them I called, and I started, I'm doing a documentary, and before I could even finish, he said, no, absolutely not. I was like, okay, do you mind me asking why? And he said, because circumcision is going to be the abortion debate of the 21st century. And then he hung up on me. And I was like, man, I really wish you'd said that on camera. That would have been great. But yeah, the ones who appeared, they were willing to debate. That's what they wanted to put their voice out there on. And so the ones that were in here were fairly easy to get. And there were a few like that who said no. But I think it's also that when I started, there wasn't the distribution, literally the way that we're distributing now, those distribution methods didn't exist when I started making the film. So it's changed a lot over the time.